योऽन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणत्वक् आदीन् प्राणान्नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्. Dear students, in this particular session I am going to narrate the story of Mitra Samprapti in detail so that you can just recollect the entire story along with the characteristics which would be helpful for your examination. So the second book amongst five is called as Mitra Sampraptihi, or the acquisition of friends. And the story goes like this. In a mighty forest near the city of Mahilaropia in the south, there was a gigantic banyan tree with loads of fruits feeding multitudes of birds, and a spacious shade capable of harboring any number of travelers. It had many feeders and covered a large area. Its leaves were interspersed with nests of various birds. Its branches were occupied by troops of monkeys. Its hollows were filled with worms of different kinds. The honey of its flowers was drunk by swarms of bees, and its shape afforded protection to countless men and beasts. Its every limb was so useful to so many creatures that any other tree could, in comparison with it, be considered only as a burden to Mother Earth. So please make a note of it. Till here you can expect a question, that is description of banyan tree. And the main story goes like this. In that tree there lived the crow called Laghupatanaka. One morning when he was going to Mahilaropia in search of food, he saw a hunter, black in color, splay-footed, with erect hair and cruel look, and with a net in his hand. Seeing him, the crow said to himself, "Ah, this wicked wretch is surely going to my banyan tree to catch the birds who live there. His marching in that direction shows that I do not know whether the poor things will escape destruction. I must do something to avert this calamity." He forthwith retraced his steps and returned to his banyan tree and told all the birds, "A wicked hunter is coming here with net and rice. You should never trust him or be tempted by the rice which he offers. He will spread his net and scatter his rice. All of you should avoid that rice as you would avoid the deadliest of poisons." The hunter reached the banyan tree, spread his net underneath it, and scattered his tempting rice. Then he went to some distance and watched the net from a hiding place. All the birds of the tree, having been forewarned by the crow, avoided the rice like poison and concealed themselves. But soon a pigeon king called Chitragreeva came along with his 1,000 followers in search of food. They sighted the rice from afar and flew towards it. The crow warned them of the danger, but in vain. Moved by greed of tongue, the pigeons swooped on the rice and were caught in the net. Verily, sudden and unexpected death, like the death which overtakes the fish in the waters, befalls those who are greedy of tongue those who live in the midst of water, and those who are totally ignorant. But the pigeons were not wholly to blame. All humanity is like that. Why did not the otherwise religious Ravana realize that it was a deadly sin to carry off another's wife? Why did not the divine Rama remember that a golden deer was impossible and therefore find out its elusive nature? Why did the righteous Yudhishthira bring on himself sudden calamity by gambling with dice? Evidently, man's intellect fails to perceive the danger lurking in the immediately fascinating act. Or it may be that the intellects of even the great are affected by fate and go astray when death or danger has to happen. The hunter saw from his hiding place that the pigeons had been caught securely in the net, and with joyous heart rushed to the spot with an upraised stick for killing the birds. Chitragreeva, on seeing himself and his people caught by the wiles of the hunter, told to his followers, "Do not yield to despondency. That man whose mind does not desert him in calamity succeeds in surmounting it. Before the hunter reaches us, let us all, with one united effort, suddenly rise up into the air with the net and get out of sight of this wicked wretch. Then we shall be assured of safety. If not, if we get ourselves merely confounded and despondent, and pull in different directions, and do not do as I suggest, death will overtake us all, as in the story of the two-headed bird. In unity and mutual cooperation is our hope. Even thin fibers, when joined together, become a powerful rope and withstand many mighty pulls. So too, the joint effort of the good will withstand any adversity." All the doves did as their king directed and flew up in the air with the net. The hunter ran along the ground following the net and said to himself, "But they will surely quarrel among themselves soon, and then they and my net will together fall to the ground." Laghupatanaka left off his search for food and, impelled by curiosity, followed the net. Soon the birds flew with the net to such a distance that the hunter could not see it any more. Disappointed and with sorrowful attitude, he said to himself, "That which is not destined to happen will not happen, and that which is destined to happen will happen even without effort. That which is not destined to live will perish even if placed on the palm of the hand and continuously watched. When fate is adverse, one may sometimes get some wealth with very great effort, as I got these birds. But it is sure to go away suddenly, taking away something more, as these birds have done my net. Desirous of catching these birds, I have lost the net which was supporting my family. There is no use of pursuing them any more." And he desisted from the pursuit. Chitragreeva said to his followers, as soon as he knew that the hunter had turned back, "That wicked wretch of a hunter has desisted from the pursuit and returned. So, let us all go without fear to a place to the north of Mahilaropya, where my friend the mouse Hiranyaka lives. He will surely snap all our bonds and set us free. In calamity, none but a friend will help us, even with consoling words." Led by Chitragreeva, the pigeons reached the fort-like hole of Hiranyaka, which had 1,000 exits and afforded absolute protection from danger. Here Hiranyaka lived without fear from any quarter. Well has it been said, a snake without fangs, an elephant not in ruts, and a king without a fort are all easily conquered. That thing which kings accomplish in battle with a single fort cannot be accomplished by 1,000 elephants and 100,000 horses. A single archer in a fort is equal to 100 archers outside it. Hence, it is that politicians praise forts. The Pigeon King stood at the mouth of the hole and cried out in loud voice, "O friend Hiranyaka, come quick! A great calamity has overtaken me." Hearing this, Hiranyaka said from inside the hole, "Who are you? Why have you come here? What kind of calamity has overtaken you? State everything in detail." Chitragreeva said, "I am your friend Chitragreeva, the Pigeon King. So come quick. Your help is needed urgently by me." Hearing this, the mouse came out of his hole in great joy at the prospect of meeting his friend. Affectionate friends always crowd the house of the magnanimous householder. The joy of the host to whose house they resort cannot be paralleled even in heaven. Hiranyaka saw Chitragreeva and his followers in bonds and asked with grief, "What is this?" Chitragreeva said, "Why do you ask? Surely you ought to know. Is it not said that by the power of fate one does all kinds of things dictated by the acts done in the previous birth? This particular calamity came to us from our greediness of tongue. Please release us from our bondage without delay." Hiranyaka said, "A bird sights food even from 100 miles, but the same bird does not unfortunately see even the net under its very nose. But having seen even the powerful sun and moon caught by Rahu, and having seen the mighty elephants, the venomous snakes, and the birds of the air confined by men, and having seen men of genius pine away in poverty, I have realized the inevitability of fate. The birds sporting in the solitude of the sky come to grief. The fish are caught even from the depths of the ocean by expert fishermen. What then is the difference in this world of leading a virtuous or vicious life? And what is the use of choosing a particular place to live in, seeing that death with outstretched hands seizes all creatures, even from afar at the appointed time?" Then the mouse began to bite the bonds of Chitragreeva. The Pigeon King said, "O friend, begin not with me. Finish with my followers before you come to me." Hiranyaka said in anger, "What you talk is rot. First comes the master, then his servants." Chitragreeva said, "Friend, don't say so. These are dependent on me and are poor fellows who have left their families to follow me. Am I not to show them in return at least this much consideration? Servants never desert that king who shows great consideration for them even though he may be poor. Confidence is the root of prosperity. That is why the big tusker is trusted by the herd and made the leader. Besides, your teeth may be broken by constant biting of these bonds, or the hunter even may come here before you have finished biting the bonds of all my followers if you begin with me, then surely I shall go to hell. That leader who is happy while his righteous followers are in misery suffers pain in this world and goes to hell in the next. Hiranyaka wholeheartedly said, Friend, I too know the duties of kings. I merely wanted to test you. You have stood the test well and deserve to be the king of thousands more of pigeons. A king who is compassionate and considerate towards his servants can rule the three worlds. I shall now release your followers from their bonds. Having done this, he snapped the bonds of Chitragreeva also and said to him, Friend, now go in peace to your own abode. If calamity overtakes you again, come to me without hesitation. Then he entered his hole again. Chitragreeva and his followers went back to their dwelling. Laghupatanaka saw all this with astonishment and thought, Hiranyaka's goodness and wisdom are equal to his fort in impregnability. I can never trust to combat fickle fate alone. So, I too will make him my friend. Wise men, even though powerful and wealthy, will always love to make friends. The ocean, though full of water, seeks the help of its friend, the moon, to rise higher still. Thinking thus, he went to the hole of Hiranyaka and called out in the voice of Chitragreeva, Hey Hiranyaka! Hey Hiranyaka! Hearing that sound, Hiranyaka thought that he had perhaps by oversight not snapped the bonds of some pigeon, and so asked from within his hole, Who are you? The crow replied, I am Laghupatanaka the crow. The mouse crept deeper into the hole on hearing this and said, Get away from my place, quick! The crow said, I have come to you on an important business. Why then do you refuse to see me? The mouse replied, Because no good purpose will be served by mixing with you. The crow said, I have seen you deliver Chitragreeva and his friends from bondage and have been delighted with it. If I too get caught in some net, I want to be released in like fashion. So, I want to make friends with you. The mouse replied, You are the eater and I am the food. How then can you and I be friends? Friendship and marriage can take place only between those whose birth and wealth are equal and not between those who are rich and poor or powerful and weak. That fool who makes friends with those who are higher or lower than himself ends by becoming the ridicule of the world. So get away from here. The crow said, If you do not come out and make friends with me, I shall remain at the mouth of your hole and starve myself to death. Hiranyaka said, How unreasonable you are! How can I make friends with one who is my natural enemy? Is it not said that one should not make friends with an enemy though he is keen on it and appears to be of like nature? Water, though boiling hot, will it extinguish fire? The crow said, How unreasonable you are! You have not seen me and yet say that I am your natural enemy. Hiranyaka said, There are two kinds of enemies, the one who is born an enemy and the one who becomes an enemy for some cause or other. You are my born enemy. An enmity generated by some cause or other in the ordinary intercourse of life can be overcome by clever means, whereas an enmity by birth cannot be ended without the death of one party. The crow said, "Kindly tell me how to distinguish these two types of enemies." The mouse replied, "So, dear students, again you can expect one important question, that is, distinguish the two types of enemies. And the answer is, the mouse replied, an enmity by association is brought about by some cause or other and is removed by the removal of that cause. The natural enmity is that between the mongoose and the snake, the herbivorous animals and the carnivorous ones, water and fire, the rich and the poor, the lion and the elephant, the hunter and the deer, the Brahmin learned in the Vedas and the atheist, the wise of the foolish, chaste women and adulteresses, the good and the wicked, and the gods and demons. None of these classes have succeeded in exterminating the other class. Still, their life is one long fight against their opponents, and their mind is full of sorrow at not having exterminated them. This kind of enmity can never be eradicated." The crow said, "It is a most unreasonable kind of enmity. One becomes another's friend or enemy from some cause or other. A wise man should form new friendships and not nurse old enmities. So, form a friendship with me." Hiranyaka said, "The great authors of the Shastras have said, he who makes friends with one who is not like unto him meets with death, even as the ass meeting with the horse gives birth to the barren mule and has his line extinguished forever. It may be that you are good and intend to do no harm to me, but no good can come of such friendships. Nature will assert itself at last. It may be said that I, being virtuous, cannot come to grief by anybody's enmity. But a lion took away the life of Panini, the grammarian; an elephant killed Jaimini, the philosopher; an alligator tore to pieces Pingala, the Vedic scholar. These instances will show that neither virtue nor accomplishment will be a protection against the lower animals who are passionate and sunk in ignorance and cannot appreciate merit or virtue." The crow said, "What you say is true, but listen to me. Friendship is formed among men by reason of obligations, mutually conferred; among beasts and birds with some motive; among fools through fear or greed; and among the good at the very first sight. I am a virtuous soul. I always swear unto you that I shall do no harm whatever to you." The mouse replied, "I have no faith in your oaths. No confidence should be placed in an enemy, though he has sworn several oaths. Indra killed the demon Vrutra after a terrible oath not to kill him. Even the gods themselves cannot kill an enemy unless he is foolish enough to put faith in them. Indra destroyed the foetus of Diti, the mother of demons, when she had put her faith in him. Therefore, even a man wiser than Brihaspati should never have faith in an enemy if he desires his own prosperity, life, and happiness. An enemy will, in the course of friendship, find some tiny loophole or other in us and destroy us gradually, like water entering a boat through a small hole and sinking it all together finally. Neither a worthy nor an unworthy man should be trusted too much, for he may destroy us root and branch one day. Even a weak person is not destroyed by his powerful opponent unless he trusts him. The crow was impressed by these arguments and could not readily reply to them. He thought to himself, how clever is this mouse in politics? My inclination to strike a friendship with him grows even greater. He said to him, O Hiranyaka, the wise say that friendship is formed even by walking 7 steps together. How much more so by having had this long conversation? So, you have already become my friend even against your will. Listen to me. Even though you distrust me and keep to your hole and never come out, you and I can have such delightful discussions on virtues and vices every day. Hearing this, Hiranyaka thought, this crow appears to be a clever one, and he has spoken the truth. He deserves to be made a friend, but he should not be allowed to set foot in my hole. An enemy, being afraid at first, approaches with slow steps and then rushes forward, taking undue advantage, as does the arm of the paramour on a woman not yet conquered. He said to Crow, so be it, O Crow, but you are never to come inside my hole. The crow readily agreed. From that day onwards, they met together daily and enjoyed delightful discussions. They also conferred obligations on each other. The crow used to take to the mouse pieces. The crow used to take to the mouse pieces of meat, remains of sacrifices, and grains of cooked rice. The mouse, in turn, used to give the crow the grains of raw rice and other dainties secured by him during the night. The friendship of the two agreed well with both owing to these mutual returns. It has been said, sixfold is the way of exhibiting friendships, namely, giving something, taking something in return, confiding a secret, asking for a secret, eating something from the friend, and causing the friend to eat something. There can never be any real friendship without conferring obligations. Even the gods grant favors only by their being given something as per oaths. Affection will last only so long as something is continued to be given. Even the calf of a cow will leave its mother as soon as she gets no more milk from her. A gift will make even an enemy friend in no time. With beasts, the love of making gifts is even greater than love for the offspring. The mouse and the crow, though naturally enemies, became inseparable friends, like the nail and the flesh. Daily they used to meet and hold friendly discussions. Then, one day, the crow went to the mouse and, with the tears in his eyes and a faltering tone, said, O Hiranyaka, the time has come for our separation. I have to leave this country and go elsewhere. Hiranyaka asked, Why? The crow replied, There is a terrible drought in this country. The people are all starving and do not offer sacrifices from me, which alone I used to get my best food. People are catching all kinds of birds and eating in order to somehow fill their bellies. In every house I see only these miserable captive birds. My heart bleeds for them. I too was caught hold of, but somehow managed to escape. That is the reason for my resolve to leave this country. Hiranyaka said, Where do you intend to go? The crow replied, "There is in the south a big lake in the midst of a dense forest. I have got there a tortoise friend called Mantharaka, who is dearer to me than even you. He will give me pieces of fish meat. I shall pass my time merrily with him, eating them and having friendly discussions. I do not wish to remain here and see the race of birds undergo bondage and death. You may consider this journey an arduous and difficult one and may think it inadvisable to go to a distant foreign country. But what task is too difficult for the able? What is distance to the persevering? What country is foreign to a learned man? Who is stranger to him who can talk sweetly?" Hiranyaka said, "If that is so, I too shall come with you. I also will come to grief if I continue here." The crow asked, "How so?" Hiranyaka replied, "It is a long story. I shall tell it at length after we reach the lake." The crow said, "I am a bird of the sky, and you are a beast of the land. How then can you and I march together?" The mouse replied, "If you want to save my life, you can take me on your back and fly with me to the lake. There is no other way." The crow said, "I shall gladly do so. I am indeed lucky, for my life at the lake will be even more merry with you to keep company. I know the various modes of flight, how to fly up and fly down, to fly straight and to fly crooked, to fly at stretch and to fly in stages. So get on my back. I shall take you safely to the lake." Hiranyaka got upon the crow's back, and the crow flew with him gently and comfortably to the lake. Seeing the crow approach with the mouse on his back, Mantharaka, who was very prudent and cautious, said to himself, "Here comes a most extraordinary crow. I had better keep away," and dived into the water. The crow left the mouse in a hole at the root of a tree on the bank, and perching on the end of a big branch, cried out loudly, "Mantharaka! Hey Mantharaka! Come quick! I am your friend Laghupatanaka and have arrived here in a great anxiety. So come and embrace me quick. Sandal mixed with camphor and ice is not half so cool and refreshing as the loving embrace of a friend." Hearing this, the tortoise